Support from the Meeple Minded comes from listeners like you. The next time you're looking for that new geek-tastic purchase, why not support us by using our affiliate link, where we get a small percentage of the total at no extra cost to you. Go to thecomicshop.co.uk/MeepleMinded. Thank you for your support.
What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
How are you doing this week, James?
Yeah, still breathing.
Yeah. You left game night early last night.
I did, because we weren't playing anything.
It's very true. I'd set up Acropolis and everything. I was really geared up to play. I took pictures of it, I put it on our Instagram, and then nothing. No one turned up. How rude. And it's not like I'd pre-told people what the game was or anything like that. I mean, maybe that was the issue. Maybe people thought I hadn't planned a game. I don't know. Maybe it was my fault. I don't know. But the long and short of it, James, was we turned up to a game night and we didn't play games, and this was upsetting.
It was.
It was very upsetting because I was really looking forward to that game. So we need to make sure we get that game on Monday,
yes.
I think. But yes, other than that, James, how has life been treating you this past week?
Yeah, it's been all right.
Good. Work okay? I mean, okay is going to be as good as it can be, isn't it, really?
As good as it can be for, slogging away at work.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the past week or so has been unbearable hell for me because I've mentioned it a few times. I drive in London for a living, and, Her Majesty the Queen's passing and the state funeral has meant that London has been exceptionally busy, coupled with the fact that pretty much anywhere south of Trafalgar Square has been closed, which is where, 30% of my customers are. It's been hard.
I bet that
understandably hard.
Yeah, I bet that's been interesting.
Yeah, it's and it's obviously the funeral's been and gone at the time of this recording. I think by the time this comes out, we're talking 3 weeks ago. But at the time of us recording, it was earlier this week, and it's still busy in London. Although they have reopened those roads, so that's little progression. It's got a little bit better.
Yeah,
but yes. Not been much gaming going on because we weren't able to run our Monday night club out of respect. And then we decided that playing games last night wasn't on the cards. So, James, we haven't played a game now for well over a week and a half. This is not good.
We will remedy this.
Yes, we will. But anyway, we're not going to be doing a game highlight episode today, which is good. We don't have a game that we highlighted this time last year to talk about. So we're going to do a topical discussion. And it's a discussion that I think we've had a couple of times, but I know that we differ quite considerably on our opinions on it, and that is too many breaks.
Too many breaks.
While playing games, James. How do you feel about breaks during games?
Depends on the game.
Sacrilege. You're blaming the games?
It depends.
That's like a workman blaming his tools.
It depends on the game.
How does it depend on the game? Pray explain.
Okay, so I will use the argument that, for a start, that I used on you last night when we initially discussed this, because I know your stance on breaks on games. It's like the fewer the better. What do I mean by depends on the game? Are you seriously telling me that you would play a game of something like, TI4 and not take a break?
I mean, on those grounds, I will agree with you. If a game is a slogfest like Twilight Imperium 4 or, even games that are sort of 3 hours long, I would be happy with a break halfway through.
Yep.
For example. But for the most part, most games are an hour to an hour and a half max. There is, in my opinion, no need to take, air quotes, scheduled breaks during that time.
I would loosely agree with that. You should... My thoughts on breaks is they should be between games. The less you can do to actually interrupt the flow of the game once it has begun, the better.
Yeah.
Unofficial breaks. As in non-scheduled breaks.
This is where I guess it starts getting a bit...
I mean, it does. I mean, even I know as a smoker, we probably differ on this. I would say when it comes to getting up and leaving the table to do other things, and it doesn't have to be going for a cigarette. It could be if you're in a gaming cafe or that, getting up to get a drink, all of that. I think it's just be courteous and mindful to the other people you're playing with. If it's a game with a lot of downtime between your turns, it's not so bad. But if you're constantly halting the game because it's getting back round to your turn and then, you're not here.
Yeah.
Then, it breaks the flow of the game. People might get a bit frustrated with that.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just down to be mindful of the other people you're playing with.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not some drill sergeant. Like, I understand people need to go to the toilet. People might need a drink. For the most part, if you're a good game host or if you're at a game night or whatever, plan ahead to have the drinks at the table, But, for me, like, say we're playing a game that's going to be a maximum of an hour to an hour and a half long. Again, yes, I do disagree with you with the whole smoking aspect. Is like, I'm pretty sure you can go an hour and a half without a cigarette. However, I will caveat that and say that I do agree with you to a degree with regards to the downtime of a game. If there is a decent amount of downtime, then yeah, fair enough. Providing there's no player interaction in that game.
Yeah.
Because obviously if there is player interaction and you're a target or something influences your game board, it is going to disrupt the play of the game. We'll say, what was one we've done recently? Dice Forge, for example.
Yeah.
And I know that, I don't know if you noticed, but when I think the last time we played, you'd gone out for a cigarette and something affected you and we had to wait for you to get back. And that was a mild inconvenience. And I'm saying that nicely. It was a mild inconvenience. It delayed the game by about 3 minutes, but it was just sort of like, well, now there's 3 of us sitting here doing nothing and James is off having a jolly cigarette, and that's where people taking, again, those air quotes, unofficial breaks can get a bit grinding on the players that aren't on those unofficial breaks. And then it starts this sort of chain reaction of, oh, well, he went out for a cigarette, so I'm going to go and get a drink. But James has now come back from his cigarette and he's done what he needs to, and it's now affecting the person who's up there getting a drink. And, so on and so forth. That's where, I'm pretty good. I literally sit down to play games for a night. I don't really get up. That's where I stand, James. How often would you say, we'll talk about official breaks first, scheduled breaks. How often would you say a scheduled break should occur within a game?
I would say if the gameplay length is upwards of the hour and a half mark, so going past it, so you're into the hour 45 to 2 hours plus games, then all right, have a break at the 90-minute mark.
Yeah. I'd also sort of stick in a bit in
or
there.
The
so
halfway point,
That's where I would say is probably the cut-off where you need to start thinking about maybe scheduling a quick 5-10 minute break. But also if a game has a substantial upkeep phase where boards change, so some dungeon crawlers, for example, will require an entire new board to be constructed. That might be a good idea to go, right, whoever's running the game, I will do this. Everyone else, now is your time to go for fag, toilet, drink, have a little chat, whatever.
Yeah, I would say actual scheduled breaks, where possible, should, like I said at the beginning, should be scheduled between games. As someone is packing one down and putting another one up, that's where your scheduled break really should be. Yeah.
Now, I spoke to someone else about this. It was a good couple of months ago now. I can't even remember who it was, but someone actually said they like to take regular breaks to eat. And I sort of immediately assumed, we're talking Twilight Imperium 4, 8+ hours. Well, of course you're going to need a food break in that time. But then upon further discussion, finding out that they are talking about normal games, it's like, oh no, I like to start eating every hour or whatever it be, peckish stuff. It's like, is it really that imperative to snack every hour? I'm pretty sure that also can't be very healthy.
Barring certain medical conditions where that might be an actual requirement. But that's a bit excessive unless you're managing something like diabetes where you've got to actually control your blood sugar or something like that. You've got to make exceptions for those kind of things.
Yeah.
But just a standard one, even I'd be like,
really?
that extra half hour going to kill you?
To really go against my own argument there, you bring up a very good point, really, with the whole managing diabetes and stuff like that. Is like, should I be demanding that people tell me that they've got diabetes that needs to be managed? Because that's their own personal information. I don't need to know that.
Most people, I think, would mention it to the host at some point if it wasn't already known to the host. It's like, just so you know, I might have to disappear around this time to just do X, Y, Z.
Yeah, touch wood. I don't suffer from diabetes. I don't know anyone that does, so I don't really know exactly what they do. In severe cases, you've got the injections and stuff like that. Yeah,
you've got... I had a friend at school who had diabetes, so obviously you have to monitor you actually have to monitor your blood sugar level, so every once in a while you have to actually... It's like a mini blood test.
Yeah,
so you prick your finger and drop a blood onto a machine, and it will then tell you what your blood sugar level is, and then you have to either
consume accordingly.
Depending on whether you're high or low, you either have to have a sugar intake to bring it up if you're low, or if you're high, you need to have a insulin injection. But you know, either way, that's understandably going to disrupt gameplay. Yeah.
I mean, health reasons, I think. We can all agree that that's totally acceptable, and it overrules everything.
It goes without saying, but you know.
Any other reasons that you would think that breaks should be had throughout a game night at all?
Like I said, you know, breaks should, to me, actual scheduled ones should be between the games, because they're effectively, they're like palate cleansers, aren't they? It's like, finish the game, reflect,
have a chill.
Reflect on it, start thinking about the next game.
Have a laugh at James and his feeble amount of points that he scored in the game.
Yeah.
Revel in the sheer amount of points that I have scored in the game. I can't even say that with a straight face.
Next time we play Gang Sean Clever, I hope you roll nothing but ones.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
My name is Nick Perrin, and I'm an actor, writer, and game master. And on Tabletop, I talk with an expert game master every week to find out the best ways to run amazing games and tell epic stories. Looking to start DMing? Or maybe you've been a game master for a long time and want to spice up your table? Then this podcast is for you. Tabletop is released on Mondays wherever you get your podcasts.
Sometimes that's a good thing, though. Sometimes.
Every roll.
So actually, at this point, James, I'm just going to completely break away here and say, we reviewed Gang Sean Clever last week. What did you do this very week?
I bought the app.
You bought the app. Have you been playing it a lot, James?
Maybe.
Have your scores improved at all?
Yes.
That's good. So you might actually be a worthy contender.
Well, you know, there's a topic for another topical, mate. Random number generators versus actually physically rolling dice.
Yes. Yeah, this is very, very true. But yeah, I found that really funny that you've done that. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. That was a nice little bit on the side. But
coming soon to a podcast, Nick.
Coming soon, indeed. I have been thinking about doing something like that anyway. But yeah. So, do breaks within games annoy you at all?
No. I can't, because I'd be a massive hypocrite as a smoker who does try and be as considerate as possible when going out for those unofficial breaks, but I'd be a huge hypocrite if I basically turned around and went, no, they irritate the hell out of me.
And there I was thinking you were going to say that, James. You've ruined the entire episode.
I mean, even when I do that, I do my best to either stand by a window so that I can see the game board. If I have left the table in play, like you said, there's, you know, if there's player interaction, it's a little bit difficult, but it's like I can genuinely still see the board. So if it looks like my turn is coming back round soon and I'm not done, it's like, right, okay, right, I need to go back in.
Yeah.
And things like that. It's like, don't wander off out of sight and then come back and wonder why everyone's giving you the death stare.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, James. Phone calls during the game.
Unless you are expecting an important phone call, which should be stated before the game begins, no, leave it alone.
I mean, I could do it. I could ramble on an entire topic on that on my own about how much I hate phones, and especially phones with, at the game table. But yeah, phone calls during gameplay. Sometimes I can understand if it's not your turn and you've got a couple of minutes, you could just sort of answer the call and say, I'm busy at the moment, can I call you back? I would understand that. And there's been a couple of times where that's been the suggested response by the person. And they've sort of said, I'll just tell them to, I can't tell. But then that phone call then proceeded to be a 5 to 10 minute phone call. And I think after about a minute, it was their turn. And it's like, we're all now sat here waiting for you. And it wasn't even a modicum of an apology or anything like that after the phone call. And it kind of put a sour note for the rest of that game, you know, which was difficult because it was quite a long game. You know, I think that was a 2-hour game that we were doing. And there was a scheduled break halfway through at the hour mark, and this happened at the sort of 45-minute mark. So it was like...
Yeah, it's like you couldn't just sort of tell it, look, I'll call you back in 15 minutes.
Exactly, yeah.
Like I said, you know, unless, you know, there's always caveats, but it's sort of like, unless it's life or death, it's like most of us have got smartphones. Normally it's out on the, like, when we're recording now, it's on Do Not Disturb, but I can still see the screen. So it's like, I can make an informed judgment call. If it does go off, it's like, nope, don't need to answer that.
Yeah.
Nope, don't need to answer that.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll wait.
And then you've got so much to do during your break, which is great. You know, it gives you something to do. So yeah, phone calls, yeah, particular bugbear. I've not spoken to a single person that doesn't find that annoying at the table. You know, I know a few people feel the same way as me with regards to cigarette breaks. I know a lot of people feel the same way as you, and even more people are totally indifferent and don't really care what the break is about. So, I mean, that's probably the best way to be, I guess, is try to be completely indifferent about what the break is about. And what we're actually discussing is, should there be breaks, and when is there too many breaks?
Yeah.
You know, for individual people or as a group. I mean, we highlighted it at the very start. For me, a game that's lasting an hour and a half, you don't need a break. You don't need a break. You won't need a drink, or very unlikely to need a drink, you know, unless it's exceptionally hot, because you'll probably have, like we have right now, we have drinks on the table.
Yeah.
Because we know we're going to be sat down for nearly an hour. I mean, to be honest, it won't be an hour today because this episode will be nice and quick, but normally we know we're going to be sat down for an hour. We have enough drinks to last us that hour. Toilet breaks, they are totally acceptable.
Obviously, you can't control that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, again, it's just sort of like, for those other things, you know, toilet breaks are usually a good excuse because, you know, a toilet break takes 5 odd minutes. If someone gets up and goes, 2 secs, guys, I've got a toilet break. Okay, we weren't intending to take a break here, but if anyone wants to do anything, now's the time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Unless it's not going to impede the gameplay.
Yeah.
You know, if gameplay can carry on and it won't affect them. Because that's what I do find. A lot of gamers are, as you said, very courteous to the other players. They'll do their turn, and then immediately after their turn is over, that's when they'll go and do whatever it is. Well, and just sort of say, well, I've got this amount of time.
This sort of goes back to when I say depends on the game and that kind of thing, or how the game is structured. Because like you said, if it's a game, like even for a toilet break, it's very rare that, you know, you suddenly go, oh, I need to go and I need to go now.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, well, if it's a game with a round structure, you know, where there's like you said, a reset at the end of the round and places need to be, I'd wait till the end of the round and go, right, we're resetting. I'm just going to nip to the loo.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's a good opportunity for everyone else to actually go, actually, I could do with a drink, or I want a cigarette break. It's like, well, I guess we're having a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
You know, it's a matter of conveniences. We weren't planning to have one here, but here's as good a time as any to have one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think on that, I would agree. You know, as I said, I don't feel like a complete dictator when it comes to games. Yes, lots of, you know, people going out all the time does annoy me because it's just sort of like, well, it's breaking my immersion in the game, people upping and leaving and all that kind of stuff. But I do understand maybe, you know, it's taking a break for you know, I mean, you sort of named it earlier, taking a break from a game as a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
In a particularly long game. Is that something that you reckon is a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a game off the top of my head where it was. And, you know, again, also comes down to who you're actually playing with. And we highlighted it in the episode when we actually reviewed it, Ark Nova.
Yep.
That game has a stupidly long downtime, especially at the high player counts. So that's a game where I tend to break my own rules and I'm constantly after my turn. There's no player interaction, and you are literally, you know, at 4 players, you can be sitting there for up to 10 minutes waiting for your turn to come back round. And it's like, that's definitely one where it's like, if for nothing else, I need to stretch my legs.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally inactive for 10 minutes, just sitting here going, come on, come back round to my turn, come back round to my turn.
I mean, I guess once you've already planned your next turn, it's you are basically sat there doing nothing. There are games that have stupid amount of downtime, and in those games you will find, like, I very rarely walk away from the table, but occasionally you'll find I will stand up and walk around the table, you know, if, like you said, nothing more than to get some blood back in my legs, you know, or to just stretch my legs, whatever. But, I mean, deep down, am I really that bothered by people taking breaks? Don't really think I am, within reason. I think that's where I would say I am.
Yeah, you know, I keep coming back to it. Depends on the game. If it's a very quick fire game, even at high player counts where, you know, there's only a minute or two between turns and someone is literally taking their turn and then wandering off constantly, that's going to grind on everyone. It's
I mean, for me, it's also, it's very disrespectful to the other players if that is what they're doing. But more importantly, as someone who is usually the game host, it actually makes me feel bad because it makes me feel like they're not interested in the game, which means they're bored. Short of being insulting to me, because is it my teaching that's made you feel like that? Is it the game? Have I picked poorly? And there's lots of those things that will go through my head, and that's mainly something that will affect the game host, which, as I said, is usually me. And it has crossed my mind a few times when someone is constantly up and going round. But like one of the times it's happened to me was actually at a game club, one of our Monday night ones actually. So we have lots of games going on at the same time. And they were constantly up and going around all the other tables. And I started feeling like, I think they're bored and all that. And it's like, it just transpired, because I did speak to them afterwards and sort of said, like, I'm really sorry if I picked the wrong game for you. It was like, oh, no. I really wanted to see all these other stuff as well. I really enjoyed this game, you know. So I'd read the situation wrong, but it was purely out of my mindset of constantly getting up from the table, you know, just made me feel bad rather than, you know, and they ended up sort of apologising because they didn't realise it was affecting me in that way. But I think if you are someone who likes to get up from the table and walk around, so just, as you said, be courteous to the other players and think about how they might be feeling about it. They're not necessarily going to tell you how they feel about it, but at the same time, you might be alienating future people that are willing to play games with you.
Yeah.
Any closing facts that you want to say about this? Because this is a nice, short discussion, because I know you're tired.
I think the closing things I'd say is I think the overall thing that comes to it is ultimately it doesn't bother me, but just read the situation and be courteous to the other players.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with breaks in games. I prefer scheduled breaks where everyone knows what's going on and everyone's has got the things. But, you know, like James said, read the situation. If there is time for you to go and do something, then by all means do it. Have the courtesy to actually, you know, tell people at the table either what you're doing or just sort of excuse yourself.
Yeah. Don't
just get up and walk away, because that route, I mean, I won't even touch on that, but that is a big grind of mine. It's like, just tell me.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's just that. It's just that, you know, most of our gaming group does that, especially at our local gaming store, because they are a gaming cafe.
Yes.
So it's like, one sec, guys, just going to get a drink between turns, or just step it outside. Yeah. Back in a sec.
Yeah. I mean, for anyone that's ever going to play a game with me, don't announce that you're going to get up to get food, because you will be swiftly banned from playing my games. So, without good health reasons. I will understand health reasons, but then you will be limited to non-greasy food around my games. That's another discussion for another day.
Yep.
That is pretty much all I've got to say on the situation. I don't think there is inherently a big issue with it. I do have a little bit of a grind about it, but, you know, that's me. I have a grind about most things.
Yep.
So, yeah. Thank you guys for joining us once again for another topical discussion on the Meeple Minded podcast. James, how did this one go? I tried not to be quite so somber with this one, because the last two have been quite somber.
Yeah, no, you just got your moaning stick out.
I did, yeah. So, somberness went and the moaning stick came out.
Yeah.
It's not something that it happens all the time. Like, it happens occasionally, and you know, I shouldn't let it affect me, James. I think really the problem is me more than anything. But I also know that there's a fair few people out there that are in the same boat as me.
Yep. I think the other thing, which we didn't really touch on, no matter what you're doing, is especially into the heavyweight games as well. Sometimes you do need to step away from the table for a minute. Just
pack your brains back in after the explosion.
Yeah. Some games can just throw so much stuff at you that it's just like, hang on a minute, I need to take a step back and actually think about this sort of thing, because, you know, I'm just I am the meme, you know, of the blackboard with all the equations on the background, and I'm looking at it going, I don't know what's going on.
So what we're saying is heavyweight Euros, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes you do need to just step away for a minute and go, okay, now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I was going to say, sometimes you do just a couple of minutes away from the table does help you refresh your mind and helps you make better decisions. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes there is so much going on at the table, you might miss something. So yeah, maybe I can understand it on those grounds. That's a pretty good one.
But, and you know, each person will decompress in their own way.
Yeah.
So yeah, you also got to account for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to know what your guys' opinions on this topic really was. You know where to find that, or how to let us know that. It's on all of our social medias. All the Discord links to all of those are in the description. But we are going to go away and hopefully play a game tonight, James, because I feel like it's been a week and a half. It's not good enough. So we need to remedy that before I allow you to take off your shackles and head home to get some sleep, ready for work tomorrow.
Yep.
I'll give you the choice of game. But until next week, I have been Jason.
And I've been James.
And you've been listening to the Meeple Minded Podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.